Hello, Programming 12. We are going to be making it so that we can add a wave of enemies in today's video. Instead of just a single mob going across the screen, when the game starts, we're going to make it so that when we press the button, it sends a wave of mobs, and that wave we can define as any number of mobs and any kind of mobs. But right now, we'll just make a pretty basic, set of mobs that'll come across the screen. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, we're going to need a new data structure. Right now, we have a mob variable called mobby, but that's only good if we only ever want to have one mob, right? If we want to have an arbitrary number of mobs, we'll need a data structure. We have arrays, and arrays maybe could work, but they have a problem in that they can't change their size. Once you create them, they're stuck at that number. So what happens when you kill mobs? Where do they go? How do you make sure they don't become null? Also, how do you make different sizes of waves? If your array is always the same size, it doesn't work out so well. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an array list. We use this in Programming 11 for our tower defense game. Our bullet hell game. And it was a very useful data structure that is like an array that can grow and shrink. The syntax is a little bit different, so we'll review it today in this video, and hopefully that will help you remember how the array list works. So I'm going to start by getting rid of mobby. Everywhere we have mobby, it's probably not, we're not going to have mobby this time. But we are going to have an array list of mobs. So I'm going to convert mobby into an array list called mobs, and I'm going to say array list mobs. It's kind of weird syntax, right? Hopefully it makes sense. You put the type of thing that is contained in this array list inside of the angle brackets. So that's the story. That's how you declare it. How do you instantiate it? Well, let's go make it. I believe that it would be in our initialize variables function. So we can't do this exactly anymore. We have to first make the list. Just like you have to make an array when you start, we'll have to do it here. Here's how you do that. Mobs equals new array list mob. And it's weird, it's got some parentheses on the end. This is just a constructor for the array list. You'll notice that it doesn't have a size. We don't say I want 100 or whatever number of mobs at the beginning. It starts off with size 0. It doesn't have any mobs in it whatsoever. And we can add mobs to it as we please. That's going to be the idea. Okay, so I guess what we'll want to do next is write a loop that will animate all the mobs. So if we ever have mobs in our list, they should be told to go and do their things. This is kind of like our movers assignment, our checkpoint. We had to have a loop to go through all the movers. It'll be a little different with the array list, but the idea is the same, and most importantly, the loop is the same. So let's go over to the play mode, and in play I've separated into draw map, animate things, and draw play interface. That's like your toolbar type thing. So in animate things, this is the map. Draw player interface, animate things. I have mobby.show and mobby.act. So now I need to go through the array list one by one and tell each mob to show and act. So let's get rid of this, and we'll say int I equals 0. Now, how do you know when to stop? That's a good question. So we can find out the size of the array list. Kind of like how, I guess we don't do it there. So we can find out the size of the array list. We can't just say 8 like nodes, right? Nodes, I said, well, there's 8 nodes. That's not great, but we'll go with it. Here, I have no idea how many mobs there are. As we kill the mobs, there will be fewer of them. So I really can't say at the beginning, even if I do have a set number I want to start with. So what I'm going to say is, while it's less than mobs.size. Mobs.size will tell processing how many mobs are left in the list. Okay, and then what I need to do is, I guess I'll do the I++ while I'm thinking of it. That'll go on to the next mob. So we'll start at mob 0, and just like an array, array lists have everything numbered starting at 0 and going up to their size -1. So unfortunately, I can't do this. I can't do mob sub I. That's the old syntax. That was a very lovely and convenient syntax, but instead I have to say mobs.get I. And this is not a two-way street. I actually have to, this only gets an existing mob. This is fine for now. It won't make a difference, but when we go to instantiate, it might make a difference. So this just gets a mob out. It doesn't allow you to assign a value. So I could say mobs.getI and then .act and mobs.getI.show. This would work fine. But it is a little clunky looking. We got like multiple dots going on. Like this will return a mob at at index I and then tell it to act and show. This syntax is not my favorite though. I do not like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a temporary variable. I am going to say mob, my mob equals mobs.getI. So this time I'm going to get the mob out of that particular index, whatever I is, and I'm going to temporarily assign a variable to it called my mob. And I'm going to get my mob to act and show. Secretly, I just really wanted to say the word my mob over and over again. You should try it. My mob. It's a pleasurable experience, I assure you. My mob. So my mob is acting and showing, and we'll cycle through, and my mob gets to be each of the mobs as we go through. As I changes, we'll get a different mob each time. We'll nickname it my mob, and then we'll get it to act and show. So that's pretty. I hope that's kind of reminds you of how we did the bullet hell game last year. But if not, we could go over it in class in a little more detail if you're not too sure. So that's a good start. So now anything that's inside of our list will get animated, but we don't have anything in our list. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nada. So we got to make it so that we can add things to our list. Before we go any further, let's just run it and see if we've made any egregious errors. Seems good. Yeah, so no mobs. So what I'd like to do is click this button, and then, a mob will come out. And every time I click this button, let's just start with making mobs come out when I click the button. But theoretically, a wave will change. Like each time you click the button, a new wave will begin, and it'll be harder each time. So let's just start by getting the mobs to show up when I press the button. So that would probably be in... let's see, so we're in the play mode, so this is a good place to do it. I have draw map, animate things, draw play interface, and then we can do something about the buttons. So I already have drawn a button in play interface. It's right here. I have a next wave button. I put some text above it, and it's got a play button. I instantiated it over here in the main tab. I have... start button and next wave button over here. And then I made the button in my my make buttons here. So I have next wave created here. And I sent it a picture of a little arrow, play button. I'm not sold on it. That's not perfect. Good enough. Good enough for now. So next wave.show. And maybe I'll make a little function here for I don't know, handle buttons. I'm not sure what the button clicking. I'm not sure what to call the function off the top of my head. Naming functions can be a bit of a tricky thing, hey? Coming up with good names is sometimes hard. But you know what? I think I'll just go with it. I'm going to say handle button clicks. That'll be good. You could probably come up with a better name, to be honest, but I think it's pretty good. It does describe what's going on. That's the main thing. So... let's go put in void handle button clicks. And so what I can say is if next wave dot clicked, then I can make some mobs. So this is where actually this is pretty nice. I can call the constructor of the mob class, and I can create a mob, and then I can just add it to the list. So the mob constructor looked like this. I think it was 0400 was where I place it. And then I want to tell it to go to the right. So that's 1, 0. So that's like the constructor. And of course you need the new keyword as well. But then I don't really want to assign it to a variable. I want to add it to my list. So I can just say mobs.add new mob. And this will add a mob. Ooh, it's capital M. This will add our mob to the list, and it will just immediately start acting because every frame we're telling all the mobs to act. So let's see if it works. Start. Next wave. Boop. And look at that, there comes a mob. I can press it like a bunch of times and I'll get more mobs that will come out. But that's not really what I want to do ultimately. But it's interesting to notice that, we could, while we're testing our game, just kind of send some mobs out. So I think what we'll do for the future is we'll have that as another aspect of a project that you'll be working on, is to create the different waves. But I think just getting this sort of working where the mobs come out when we click the button is going to be a great place to stop this video. And then the next thing we'll do, I think, is add in some towers. Get some basic tower action going on where they can shoot bullets and that kind of thing. So that's going to be coming up in our next video, and I hope that you're not getting down by these array lists or other complex topics. Don't hesitate to ask a question in class if you are stuck. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.